So here's a question you may already have, is when to ask for feedback through our software. Like, when will you get the most results, replies and feedback? There will be a specific time to reach out to your clients where they are most primed to give you feedback. This will vary depending on your business or your industry, but there are some general rules that will always help as to when to ask for your feedback. Do remember that 68% of consumers left a local business review when asked, so this is where our software is perfect for you, because it gives you that easy, no thought process in asking for feedback just by entering their phone number or email address, and we do the work for you. So there's no excuse not to ask your customers for feedback, and hopefully they're going to leave a great review. And brings us on to the second fact there, and with 74% of people are now being asked for their feedback, it's so important to get this information so that you can improve where you're lacking and also know where you're doing well. So feedback is super important to get your business on the right track. So make sure you do ask. I cannot get this across to you enough. Make sure you ask your customers for feedback, and then we will push them on to your review page if they give you a good feedback rating. But when is the best time to ask? We have found that it's best to ask just after the service or product is delivered, and don't leave it too long after. Usually anywhere up to 3 days after the customer has received or enjoyed your product or service is the best time. If you sell physical products to people, like whether it's by mail order or direct in store, then you'll obviously have their contact details if it was a mail order thing or through a website. So if they're delivered and you get notified of when they arrive at the door, you can ask for feedback at any time from that point on. But we will caveat that because we feel asking for feedback immediately when it's delivered won't get the greatest response for a couple of reasons. Let them open the item and check it out first. So we'd definitely leave it at least an hour or two, as the customer could be at work. It may even have been signed for by a family member or even a neighbour, so your customer may not even have seen the product yet. They might be at work, they might be away for the weekend. Our advice would certainly be, if you want to ask for feedback the same day, probably leave it to the evening of when it was delivered. Otherwise, leave it till the following day. If you sell services, try to send your messages almost straight after the service has been delivered. For example, if you provide a massage, or you're a plumber, or you give haircuts, then the customer obviously has experienced your service or product straight away and will be thinking about it, looking at it and making sure they're happy with it. Your client will know how satisfied they are with your company straight away and will be actively thinking of what you've just provided. So then they are primed to give you feedback as well as give you a great review if they're happy with what you've provided. But don't leave this one too long, as if you slip out of their mind, they may delay in submitting a review. With these kinds of reviews, the customer often mentions the name of the person that served them if it was exceptional, which is perfect for future customers to see. For example, if somebody did go in for a haircut and they were served by Jane, then the review can often say, Jane was so lovely, she gave me the time just to get a cup of tea while my hair colour was drying. These kind of things make it really personal and make future customers really want to come and spend money with you. If you sell a subscription service, now this is obviously quite different from both physical and service based, but have them on subscription because there is no one point of delivering the product. You'll have them on either monthly, yearly or quarterly subscription. You'll need to give them enough time to enjoy your product or service first before asking them for feedback. You may want to gauge this depending on how frequently they use your services. For example, if you sell a gym membership, do they visit 5 times a week, once a week, or once a month? Somebody that is much more active with your product will obviously be more engaged to give you great feedback. So just gauge that so that your customers who are most active with you are the people that you're going to contact. And how much do you interact with them at the start of them being a customer? For example, if you have a welcome routine, such as 3 free personal training sessions or a few welcome emails to get them to understand your product, it's best to ask for feedback as soon as possible once that welcome period is over, as that's when they're most enthusiastic about your product and ready to give you fantastic feedback. So with that little welcome introduction to your company, they'll be super excited about what's to come, what the possibilities are, and how dedicated you are as a provider, getting in contact with them and giving them all the great information about your company and product. So this is the best time to contact them when they're active and just at the end of the welcome sequence. So the more familiar they are with your product, the sooner you can ask for the feedback. So this goes back to the same point before. If they visit 5 times a week versus once a month, you can ask them for feedback after maybe a couple of weeks because they've enjoyed your service for a few months. But if somebody joined your gym and it was once a month they'd visited, then sending an email or asking for feedback after a couple of weeks is maybe not the right time. What you would probably do there is try and get them more engaged with your product. Get them along to the gym for a few sessions, maybe throw in a PT session, and after that, once you've given them that personal touch, ask them for feedback. So it's all about timing and how interactive they are with your product. If someone hardly uses your services, asking them for feedback may just highlight the fact that they're still paying a subscription, and this can end up costing you recurring income because what they'll do is potentially stop the subscription, and nobody wants that. What you want to do is make them a happier customer with you, then get that feedback, and then hopefully get them onto your 5-star reviews. Now, here's when not to ask for feedback. If you know that a customer has had issues with your service or product, obviously if something's been delayed or a product has been delivered damaged or the likes, then these are times not to ask for feedback straight away. First, you should clearly and definitively resolve the issue with your customer and show that you care. Give them your attention and show that you're going above and beyond to resolve the situation. And only once the situation is fully resolved should you ask for feedback. As a side note, this can sometimes be the most glowing feedback, as you have fixed an issue that maybe wasn't your fault, such as a delayed delivery driver or something was broken in transit. So give them that personal touch. And again, this can be the glowing report, because if James was on the end of the phone at the call centre and maybe hand delivered it or immediately sent out a replacement, then this is where James, your contact person within your customer service, will get named as the fantastic lifesaver from the customer and get a glowing review. As long as the situation is resolved, that's when you want to ask for feedback. Another point when not to ask for feedback is if it has been a long time since you've made contact with your customer and they're not expecting to hear from you. So what you want to do there is first get in touch with them in a soft way, such as send them to a blog post that you've done or something relevant about your industry that is relevant to what they have bought from you. So if you're a sports goods outlet and you've sold running shoes, you might want to highlight a blog about 5 ways to run better or how to fuel your body before an ultra marathon. These kind of things might get them engaged with you before you ask them for feedback. So see if they interact with it, such as click on the links in the email, and then you know that they're actively interested in the products and services that you've got. And then you can send them to the feedback form. So when should you ask for customers for feedback? At the end of the day, this will be down to you knowing your customers and testing it for the optimal time after delivery of your product or service. Whether it's just 1 hour, 3 days, or 2 weeks, it could be a month, or whatever works best for your industry. Unfortunately, there's no one rule fits all here, but you just need to test a little bit to see when people most interact and give you the feedback. As long as your product or service will be fresh in their minds and they've had time to experience what you've provided. And what time of day should I ask for feedback? This again will depend on the industry. Between 10 AM and 4 PM if they are most likely to respond during working hours. For example, if you're working business to business sales here. Or between 5 PM and 8:30 PM if they are most likely to respond outside of working hours during the week. And then at the weekends, usually between 10 AM and 6 PM if your customer would respond best outside of working hours. So remember, you can use the delay feature on your portal to make sure that your feedback request is sent at the perfect time for you and your customer. For example, you can set this up at 9 in the morning to go out at 7 PM that evening so that it's best for you, and you can set and forget it, and the customer will get it at the right time for them as well. Should I send a text or an email or both? And this is another question. Again, it will depend on the industry. If you're selling insurance and this is a business-to-business sale, you're most likely communicating by email already and may not even have a mobile number of the customer. Then email is obviously the way to go. But alternatively, if you're selling hen party packages for a cocktail bar, we'd suggest text message, because more than likely the person organising a hen party might not even have a computer and working almost everything through their phone or tablet. So you maybe want to just send a text message to that one because they'll be more likely engaged on like your text message services. If in doubt though, you can send both. So rest assured, if your customer doesn't fill in the feedback form, we will follow up with them to try and get you the feedback from them. And obviously, if it is a great review with 4 or 5 stars on our feedback form, we're going to push them straight on to your review platform so that they can hopefully post a public review for you. So go and get that feedback and build up your 4 and 5 star reviews publicly. And we'll do everything we can to help. And if you've got any questions, just let us know. So go get them.